Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Nedarim, Perek Dal, chapter 4, and we will be, or in the middle of Mishnah Dalid. Today's learning should be a zechus, a merit for Refuah Shalema for Gavriel ben Etel Gita.
Amen.
Okay, so we are, and the part of the Mishnah says, V'reichetz imai. After it says, Avalei Refuas Mammon. Yeah, V'reichetz imai. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. So again, we're continuing with the person, the Reuben and Shimon. Reuben may not have benefit from Shimon because of a neder. So we've been saying the things that the person who Reuben may not have benefit from Shimon, what things he could actually still do for him or do with him. So now the Mishnah continues, V'reichetz imai b'ambatya gedola. He may bathe with him in a large bathing pool, but not in a small one. Why? So here's the explanation. When the mudar, meaning when the person who may not have benefit, is in a small pool of water, and the madir, meaning the one he may not have benefit from, gets in, the water level rises and covers more of his body. The madir thus causes him pleasure. That's called giving him pleasure. He causes the water to cover his body more just through entering, displacement. In a large pool, however, the water will not rise enough to make a difference. So therefore, that's the difference between bathing in a large bathing pool or a small one. Next, the yashani babamita. He can sleep with him in the same bed. Now, you say to yourself, okay, now, so that apparently that means to say that when they are sharing the same bed, no one is benefiting the other. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda qualifies this. Rabbi Yehuda is not arguing here, he's qualifying. That holds true during the summer. But in the rainy season, in the winter, you can't do that. You can't share the same bed. Because he's giving him pleasure by keeping him warm. When it's the rainy season, it's cold, right? Their closeness, each one makes the other one warm, body heat, or being close up to each other. It warms he warms him up. Therefore, he is giving him benefit. So therefore, it depends which time of the year it is to be able to sleep in the same bed. Next, umeisev imai al hamita. And they can recline together on the same couch. Now, this is not talking about sleeping. This is talking about eating. Right? They used to recline. They had these couches to recline on when they were eating. And the Mishnah here is saying they can recline on the same couch, on the same...
Not just Pesach.
Yeah, correct. It was all the time. So you can recline with him on the mita, on the couch. And they add here, this is true even in the winter. If they're sitting next to each other, aren't they like warming each other up? Well, they say like this: we are not concerned that the madir might fall asleep next to the mudar and thereby keep him warm. Meaning just, they're sitting next to each other, eating, that's not going to do anything for warmth. But it seems like if he falls asleep next to him, and I guess maybe he's there in a more steady, position, one might think that would warm him up, at least keep him warm in the rainy season, in the cold season. But we say, don't be concerned about that. And they explain here on the bottom, because they do not warm each other noticeably just by sitting together. Sitting together or reclining together, even the guy falls asleep, isn't going to be giving any real benefit to the person who may not have benefit from him. Okay, that's umeisi b'may alamita v'oichlimay ala shulchan, and they may eat at the same table. What's the question by eating at the same table? So they explain, and we are not concerned that the madir will share his food with him. Meaning, you're at the same table. I can't share my food with you because, I would be giving you benefit now that I have. Okay, now very often in certain areas of halacha, you sit at the same table with someone like milchiks and fleishiks, we may be afraid of sharing food. But that's only if, you're kind of friendly, or at least not, having a problem with him. In this case, whether one of them is, we assume that they are not on good enough terms to give food to one another, right? If one of them can't have benefit from the other, they're not on the greatest terms. probably, and therefore to be concerned that they're going to share food, that we don't have to worry about, and therefore they can eat the same table. But listen to this one. But they cannot share the same serving plate. Okay? Which they explain here. But they may not eat together from the same serving platter. Why? Because the madir, meaning the person who cannot have enough from, might intentionally leave a sizable portion of food for the mudar, thus benefiting him. Here we're concerned when it comes to food portion, then he may say, okay, let him have the bigger portion. But if you do that, you're giving him benefit. And therefore, you can't eat from that same platter. However, they may eat together from a serving platter that is passed around. If you got a serving platter that wasn't passed around, they just basically took food from it, and then portions from it, and then you have the serving platter that goes around. So they explain here that the serving platter that goes around typically has a lot of food on it, more food than even needed. And therefore, the idea that, therefore, even if the madr does not take any food from it, the mudar does not gain anything. Meaning, the whole issue of this concern about leaving over something for him, leaving over something for him to eat, it's interesting. They say here, the wording is, he might, before in the case of the serving platter, might intentionally leave a sizable portion of food for the mudar. I thought that means he's going to let him have the bigger piece. Now, maybe it does mean that, and when you have this serving platter with a lot of pieces, there are plenty of big pieces on it. You don't got to worry about, I'm saving this for you. There's plenty to go around, plenty to eat, and you don't got to worry about, he's going to go ahead and he's going to leave something for him. So I don't know if it means leaving him a bigger piece, not eating it all to leave him something to eat, but whatever it is, their concern by the regular platter is that he is going to leave food for the other person, while by this platter that gets passed around, there's plenty of food around that, whatever I leave over isn't any kind of real gain for the other person because there's plenty of food to take from. Okay, then the Mishnah continues, Now workers used to have this big bowl that was kind of like shaped like a trough that they all used to eat from. Okay, and we say you cannot eat with him from that. Why can't you? Because, as they explain, although the bowl is large, you got a number of workers eating from it, and we said before, the larger platter isn't a problem, it contains only just enough food for all the workers, because workers eat. Meaning, there's a lot of food in there, however, a lot of food, right, but only enough for all the workers. Not an overabundance based on how the workers eat. And therefore, we are concerned that the madr might deliberately leave a sizable portion of food for the mudar to take, as in the case of the regular serving platter that was mentioned before, above. Again, there's no extra food here, and therefore there is that concern that it may leave him over food to eat, and that will be considered benefiting him. Once we're talking about working, the Mishnah continues, they cannot work in the same row. So they're cutting down, produce, right? And there's the same row. They cannot work on the same row. Why is that? The answer is because when the madir, again, the person who may not give benefit, cuts down some of the grain, it will clear a space for the mudra to work more easily, thus benefiting him. Meaning when I'm cutting down, that gives you more space to work. That means I give you benefit. Okay? And therefore, you cannot work with him in any kind of row. These are words of Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim say, they can work in the same row as long as they're not nearby each other. If they're nearby each other, then you're correct. My work is going to give you more space to work. But if we're working far away from each other, you're not going to have that. You don't have that, benefit. I'm not working near you. I'm not clearing anything near you. You still have to work the same way, and therefore it would be okay. But clearly we have here a machlokes. Reb Meir said, no, don't work with them in a row. And the Chachamim qualified, they argued, and they said, it depends. How far are you from him? According to Reb Meir, even if you're far away from him in the row, we're concerned you're going to get close. And when you get close, it's going to be a problem. Because when you're close with him and you cut down your stuff, you're giving him more room to work, and that's called benefiting him. So the machlokes, Reb Meir and the Chachamim, their argument is, when they are actually, if they're working next to each other, everybody agrees they can't work next to each other. But if they're far away from each other, Reb Meir says we're afraid they may come close to each other, and the Chachamim say no, and therefore, if they're far away, they can work in the same row. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.